Double Dragon. Fisty, punching, action. One of the earliest popular beat-em-up franchises, Double Dragon laid the groundwork for the entire genre. From its arcade roots to championing the consoles and street violent goodness, the series' influence cannot be understated. I have particularly fond memories of playing Double Dragon 2 The Revenge on the NES as a young gamer, never being able to get past that stanky set of jumping levels. But did you know that there were Game Boy versions of the first 3 Double Dragon games? And they're... well... we're gonna answer the one question on everyone's mind. Which one is the best? Let's take a look at all 3 in detail, and then a judgment call shall be made. Also, just for fun, I'm gonna hide a random fart somewhere in this video. See if you can spot it. The first Double Dragon game for arcades was an instant smash hit. The game follows the escapades of martial artist Billy Lee and his ne'er-do-well brother Jimmy as they fight the evil Black Warriors gang to try and get back Billy's girlfriend Marion. Punching, kicking, and leaping his way through a variety of savagely mutilated downtown settings, in a random forest, Billy and Jimmy eventually confront the Black Warriors' leader, Willie! Yes, Willie. Being such a massive sensation, it was only natural that home ports were considered. Technos themselves created the NES version, perhaps the one best known worldwide, which compromised 2-player support due to limited technical know-how. Aside from a not-too-enjoyed one-on-one fighting mode, missions were altered significantly. Billy was given an experience point move-learning system, and odd still was that only 2 enemies could be displayed at a given time, making this port a significant downgrade from the arcade. Not to say it isn't fun, but the lack of a solid 2-player mode alone makes this less than desirable. There were also versions for the many home computers at the time, as well as Sega consoles, but we don't really care about those today. What we care about is the beloved Game Boy version. This one was also handled in-house by Technos, so at least they got some legit Double Dragon folks to take the reins. Double Dragon on Game Boy follows the same story as the NES version, where you are rescuing your girlfriend from the Shadow Warriors, but this time you must contend with its leader, the Shadow Boss, aka your bro Jimmy! Luckily, Billy is well equipped to do so, as his moveset is no longer locked behind an experience point system. He can hair-pull kick right from the get-go, and that's refreshing, like a cool glass of freshly squozen lemonade. This also brings me to an interesting point. The game feels easier than the NES version, maybe because I can pull off all my power moves right away. Then again, I can't complain about games being easy. I have the gaming skill of the town oaf after all. There are 4 stages to check out. Venture into the city slum first as your girlfriend takes an Evander Holyfield to the gut. All the foes we remember fondly are here. Poofy hair dudes, more poofy hair dudes, grunt with a barrel, lady who wishes she had taken that accounting course instead, and of course the mighty stone-faced Abobo. Next is an unsafe romp in the industrial area featuring a ton of ladders, not to mention a visit from Bowl Cut Bobby who... oh, well that shouldn't have happened. Mission 3 is a nature walk in the forest, as well as some expeditious rock climbing and some spelunking in the local caverns. The bosses from the previous areas show up for revenge, sometimes multiple times. Normally I despise areas featuring falling stalactites in video games in general, but luckily this one is so patterned it's easily passable. Billy rocks out with his presumably worn socks out before some weird jumping over... well, those are pancakes in a lava pit. Ooh. Last is a cliffside climb to the Shadow Warriors' hideout. Throngs of bowl-cut bobbies and weird spike-laden skull doors aren't enough to deter Billy from his quest. Ah, jeez! These doors are actually trying to suck me in! No! Then it's a showdown with your own brother, your own flesh and blood, Jimmy, the leader of the Shadow Warriors. He's actually relatively easy to take care of. And then... oh yeah. You have saved Marion's life, comma, with your own hands. The ending credits roll as Billy and Marion compare right-angled noses. Overall, while not an exact one-to-one port, Double Dragon actually does justice to its source material with significant overlap with the NES version, even in the manual down to the illustrations. It's less challenging and not quite as robust overall, and it still features way too much jumping for a beat-em-up, but this portable puncher is a good way to experience the dragons on the go. Double Dragon 2 in the arcades was interesting. It wasn't so much a brand new game as an enhanced version of the first one, except this time your girlfriend is shot instead of punched in the ovaries. It introduced the whole left-right attack system where one button attacks one way and another attacks the opposite way. It was odd in the arcade, and still odd when Double Dragon 2 came to the NES. Of course, that game was so different it might as well have been considered a brand new game. Now that's not a bad thing. After all, you have the best Double Dragon game on the NES bar none in Double Dragon 2 The Revenge. So naturally, a port for the popular Game Boy would also be in the works, based on the success of the first game, right? Wrong! Why put in actual effort when you can put in less effort? Technos reskinned the first Game Boy game from their popular Kunio-kun franchise into a Double Dragon game, and wham! Money be flowing like crystal! Ooh, ah, ooh, ooh, ah. What publisher would dare do such a thing? Oh, it's a claim. Gotcha, yeah. In Japan, the game was known as Neketsu Koha Kunio-kun, Bangai Ranto Hen, which translates to Neketsu Tough Guy Kunio, The Further Brawls. Okay. Here, you are high schooler Kunio seeking revenge for his friend being beaten up. Typical high school. With his loyal associate Riki, Kunio will take on Yuji Munakata, a terror with many business connections and a history of high school hijinks. But with a slap of monochrome paint, Kunio becomes Billy Lee, framed for the murder of a member of the Scorpions gang. He must clear his name and find the real culprit, alongside his brother Jimmy. I guess that whole Shadow Boss thing is kind of a thing of the past now, is that what we're saying? First thing you'll notice is that the left-right control scheme from the arcade and NES games are gone, replaced with just A for punching and B for kicking. I'm also sad to report there's no more jump kicking your way to success, requiring actual skill! This also means that there's no platforming to be done. We're looking at pure beat-em-up action here, folks. There are a couple of special moves like the aerial uppercut or the classic enemy throw, but really, it might just be best to fist your way through. Unfortunately, Bilbo and Jimbo here fight more sluggishly in this sequel, especially with slow punches, so Double Dragon 2 might just feel longer than it actually is. The dragons will take on 10 different missions, woven seamlessly into one another, most of which are either just set on the streets or hanging around the subway, getting a knuckle sandwich. With Chipotle Southwest sauce, of course. Repetition sets in sometimes as the levels start to look a little too much like each other, especially in the subway sections. Not that it doesn't look decent, because it does, but I would have preferred more variety. Maybe a few more trees to spruce things up. Even I, Mr. Billy, feel more detailed than in the previous game. Is that boxing Bing Crosby? Ah, the good old Nilo subway. Where exactly is this game set? Is that the guy from Linkin Park? Thank goodness he's a bit of a pushover. As you progress, there's even a cute world map showing Billy moving from Iosade to Iodessa, and finally, who made up these ridiculous city names? Just make it something we know, like Tokyo or Winnipeg or something. They didn't even try to put regular text there. Come on! The graphics are actually quite decent, and the music is pleasant, if not catchy, although there's a boss with a chainsaw where you always hear the dang chainsaw, and it makes this noise. Please shut off your heavy machinery, sir. Not to mention, why are we back on Street again? Eventually, you make your way to the Scorpions' headquarters, where John Goodman waits to beat you to a pulp. After a long trip upwards through the unfriendly elevator system, Billy meets up with Gordon, leader of the Scorpions. Billy tries to clear his name. Someone is trying to nail me. I believe the word is frame, not nail. Then Gordon gets spun kicked in the head, and it is revealed that his right-hand man, Anderson, done the deed. Take him out, Billy. After a brutal battle, Billy totally actually he dies, and Anderson rules over the city for decades to come. Just kidding. Billy totally thrashes the dude, and he tries his best to console an injured Gordon. We can't just give up the Scorpions. We'll have to fight for it. What? And that's Double Dragon 2 for the Game Boy. This game had potential, but it's bogged down by a sense of repetition and lethargy. It's the same boring waves of the same enemies, and even the environments get recycled 2 or 3 times over. Not the worst beat 'em up by a long shot, but it sure gets dry fast, like a sponge in the sun. Then we get to Double Dragon 3 and oh god. This one is notorious as the quote-unquote worst of the trilogy, starting with the arcade version that, while not entirely terrible on its own, is bogged down by a lecherous system whereby to power up your character, get extra lives, or learn new moves, you have to buy them with real money, additional tokens, the original microtransactions. Worse yet, it's shoved in your face on the first screen of the game. It's positively assy, and it's basically just a heat seeker missile headed straight for your change purse. Without these additional purchases, you're gonna die. A lot. A lot. But we're not here to talk about the arcade version, nor are we gonna delve into the NES version, which is so difficult I can barely make it to the end of the first stage. Nope, we're looking at Double Dragon the arcade game, which is a strange title for a Game Boy game, wouldn't you say? This one was developed by the Sales Curve, a sterile name if I do say so myself. And I do. Billy and Jimmy Lee have apparently been on a journey to learn more martial— oh gosh, is their hair on fire? A haggard old woman appears named Haruko with information about the most lethal enemy on the planet who is hiding in Egypt. Now, we could just go there, but instead, let's go all around the globe looking for stones first. Whoever passed this stone of a storyline needs a swift kick. Off we go to America. Right away, there's 2 dudes trying to punch you to death right in front of a weapon shop. Is that really the America we know? In the shop, this chesty specter offers life, weaponry, and the ability to power up, all for the cost of a coin. You get 2 coins per mission, so don't blow them on powdered donuts instead. Oh boy, I got a 7-Eleven straw to fight with. These damn motorcycles! I don't even know who this boss is, but he looks like a magic genie of some sort. If you make it to Mission 2, set in China, you'll already begin suffering from gamer's fatigue. The gameplay is dry with the same fight 2 enemies routine over and over. Making matters worse is just how limiting the moveset feels, given how impotent Billy is. Just this brawl against Goku Bruce Lee here feels arduous, given how poor Billy's battle skills have become. I thought he was on a quest to improve, but somehow he became indifferent toward his studies and turned into a passed-out frat boy. He has a name! It's Bimmy! Mission 3 in Japan pits you against modern-day samurais, along a very uninteresting background. Come to think of it, this game is graphically a severe step down from its predecessor. It's also boring and bland. I'm bored. Are you bored? Also, the music is the same dang schlock every single mission. Who should we blame for putting no effort in? What was it you? You, the viewer? Did you do it? No, of course not. You're a good person. Mission 4 is in Italy, and these are Italians. And this night guy? Definitely Italian. Once you hit Mission 5 in Egypt, things go south even further than you thought possible. Okay, forget the fact people are motorbiking in the desert. What the heck are these enemies? Comma, go, new sentence, and find out what it is. Thanks, shrunken Ninja Turtle lady. Billy has to fend off really plump rock fellows before fighting Haruko herself. Oh, I knew it. She was evil all along. And if that wasn't enough of an ordeal, now Billy has to do some awkward jumping to spell out Rosetta on a tile floor, or die at the breath of whatever that giant head is. The first 2 games' enemy roster made sense. Street gang hoodlums and nothing more. But now we're getting into the surreal. Finally, a giant mummy comes out and knocks you around. That's right, even people who are already dead can beat up Billy. Thought that was enough? How about taking on a revived Cleopatra? Now, if you somehow manage to succeed without dropping some serious Game Genie codes into the brew, Billy will collect the last stone and declare that all his found treasure will go to charity. Yeah, you're a real nice fella. Plus, the stone's power will change the world, ... The credits roll and you bury your face in your hands like you just wasted your life, because well, you did. I don't think I've played a beat-em-up as boring or as flawed as this one in a long time. So, which one is the best? Why, it's... Just kidding. For me, I can't help but give the nod to the first Double Dragon game. It's the most genuine adventure of the three, and generally has the highest quality as well. It emanates what the series is all about without compromising the experience too much, even on a little handheld like the Game Boy. Double Dragon 2 is just a reskin and wasn't originally meant to be Double Dragon. And the less we say about the third game, the happier we'll be. While playing through this trilogy, I had progressively less fun each time, which is a bad, bad sign. And I guess that's it. Well, that was easy to figure out. Thank you for watching. Now don't be dragging your lazy fingers about. Click that like button and the subscribe button as well to keep up on new videos as they come out. You wouldn't want to miss my upcoming 33-part series on Athena for the NES, would you?